Microsoft has given us with Office 365 to go in and look at some information to see where I might even start. So here I have the Office download or the Office add-on for mobile devices. So what I can do here is I can do a quick search on Northwind Traders. I'm not the fastest typist. I'm not like my son who's really good at this stuff. So I could go in, and what this is going to do is this is going to search my SharePoint intranet, if I can actually spell traders today, for any result sets for Northwind Traders. So we're essentially going out, and we do have a lot of information about Northwind Traders. We have a sales proposal, we have some information. So at least there's some stuff on the intranet that I could start going once I get into the office. The other thing I may also want to do is kind of send out a flare stuff, so leveraging Yammer. So one of the things we can also do is check on Yammer to see if we have any groups on Northwind Traders. So we do have a group here on Yammer, and I can easily just go in here and say, need help with this, ASAP. Now I can go ahead and just post that right from my particular phone. So anyone here on the Northwind Traders team, I can very quickly send out this information, and it'll be updated all the other pieces. And we'll talk about Yammer, those other pieces, in a moment. So very quickly and very easily, even with my mobile device, I'm never disconnected from my information. So it's one of the things I wanted to kind of impress upon us. Now I come back into the office, and I'm in Outlook. So this is Outlook 2013. Similar kind of look and feel for other versions of Outlook if you use the ribbon bar. They've made some minor tweaks and changes. But again, keeping along with this, I go in, I look at my emails. Here's my email from Cassie. So again, same email that is on my mobile device is also right inside my full Outlook piece. But I may also want to find out some more information about Northwind. So I'm just going to do a quick search in here to see if I have any emails or any other information about Northwind. So here's some information from Cassie. I look at this particular email, and it's a sales contract. It's a couple of years old, but again, it might give me a kind of starting point. But what I do notice is this area down here, and it says, regarding Northwind Traders, this email is being tracked. So there's some association with this particular email. So I'm not really sure what it is, but I'll go ahead and click on that hyperlink. Now this is some of the very tight integration with Dynamics CRM. Let's give this a second to kind of refresh on us. So what this is doing is to bring up some information about Northwind Traders. So this brings us right into my Dynamics CRM system. Now, I may know what CRM is, I may not know what CRM is. The whole goal of this is information's just a click away. I needed some more information about Northwind Traders. Well, we leverage Dynamics CRM as kind of our information repository on our customers, and I can very easily go in, and this gives me a snapshot of everything we've done with the customer. Any activities we've worked on with that particular customer, if any notes I may have on that particular customer, any contacts that you have in the customer, any opportunities. And again, right from here, if I want to go ahead and see some of the opportunities we may be working on, I can very easily click and create opportunities. Now, Dynamics CRM is a very powerful solution. They actually just revved it up in October, and I just came back from last week at Microsoft's Convergence Conference, and they're doing some amazing stuff with the system for call center and marketing and some other functions and features in the next rev. So they're really doing good. But just wanted to pass upon how easy and how simple it is to get information right from your email. You didn't have to pop out of Outlook. You, again, didn't really have to know what CRM is. Okay. Now, I did find some more information, but really when I searched on my mobile device, I had a lot more information out there on my intranet. So here is my Contoso intranet. Okay. Now, again, this is SharePoint 2013 or inside of Office. So if you use other flavors of SharePoint, it wasn't as quite as, let's say, professional looking as the 2013 version. So Microsoft has made some dramatic changes in the new rev of all the Office products. I think probably the biggest change is kind of browser and device neutrality. So many years Microsoft said it'll run on Windows, it has to run on IE. If you have another platform, kind of tough noogies, right? Really not going to happen for us. But what Microsoft has done in this release is I'm using IE here. I could just as easily use Safari or Firefox or Chrome. It will run on any browser. So very simple, very easy. And this is kind of your typical page. I have drop-down areas where I might find account teams, etc. But they've also made some very nice changes for navigation. So if I click on account teams here, we are a global organization, and Northwind happens to be in Eurasia. So one of the things I can do is very quickly kind of navigate to my SharePoint sites. And that's kind of a concept we have in SharePoint. A site is just a placeholder for content. All right, let's just call it that way. Doesn't have to be this kind of content or that kind of content, just a placeholder for content. One of the nice new changes is they've done this kind of very visual navigation, kind of that big button approach. So I can very easily go in and say, oh, here's Northwind Traders, one of the pieces of information I was looking for. I can very easily navigate through this kind of very graphical interface, which is kind of where everything's kind of going, versus our traditional, well, I go to my drop-down menu and do a tree view and those kind of things. Now, of course, the other option is good old search. So I can go up here and search for Northwind Traders. Man, I guess I need some more coffee. And SharePoint has a very extensive search engine inside of it, so we can search obviously all the content that's in SharePoint, and it does full text retrieval search, meaning it goes right inside of PowerPoint documents, Word documents, Excel documents, Acrobat files, and actually pulls the content up. So you'll see I have some results here, and one of the results is the Northwind Trader site. But as I hover over it, you'll notice on the right that I do have the ability of previewing the information before I even go into it. So I can see what site it is, and right from inside the site, I can see any results about Northwind. Now, if I keep going down, one of the options we have here is the ability to preview Office documents, again, without ever opening them. So that was a challenge in the past, right? I saw a PowerPoint presentation I think I might like, or an Excel spreadsheet. I think that's the one I need. It might be very large. I take a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes if I'm on a slow link to download it, and all of a sudden, it's the wrong file. Well, here I can actually spin right through the PowerPoint presentation, get a visual of it. I can do the same thing with a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet. Very simple, very easy. You'll also notice a lot of social networking options where I can go ahead and say follow that particular document. I can go ahead and follow it, view it, etc. And I can go ahead and also sort and group the result set. So maybe if I just wanted to see Word files, I can very easily just click on that filter and just see Word files. Okay, and you notice this Word document is now giving me a preview inside the Word document. Or if I wanted to go back to all the result sets, I could do that. So very simple, very easy kind of navigation where we could go through and find those pieces. Now this is Northwind. This is the one I want. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that site. Now this is one of the examples, one way to actually look at information on a SharePoint site. And again, these are just examples. What you'll notice here is the live tile concept, just like we have in Windows 8, where I can roll up information and very easily see that for discussions, etc. All our navigation here is done on our left side, regardless of where we may want to go. Now you'll notice down here we have what we call a newsfeed. And this gives us the ability of kind of posting information, etc. So I have done it on Yammer, and Yammer is part of Office 365. But SharePoint also has a lot of social features, rich social features built right into it. So I'm going to go in here and say, need help with. Now we also fully support hashtags. So I can go Northwind Traders. We also support favorites. So if I do @signs, maybe I want to go ahead and pick Alan and go ahead and post that. Now, as soon as I post that information, you'll notice Karen's little icon is lit up. This is some of the integration with the solution called Lync. And Lync is basically Microsoft's kind of online collaborative solution. It lets us do our traditional kind of IM, video conferencing, audio conferencing, desktop sharing, very simple, very easy. So I can see who's online here, and if I wanted to have a chat with Karen, a phone call, etc., or if I wanted some more information about Karen, I could do that. One of the nice things about Lync is it just lights up. It'll light up in Outlook, it'll light up in SharePoint, and all the other Microsoft products, so you don't really have to think about it. And it's really, really powerful and time-saving. I know I use it extensively for, kind of a quick question. Hey, I got a question on that. I got a question on this. Or, hey, take a look at this. I can very quickly kind of share my desktop, and everyone can kind of see what I'm working on, etc. The other thing you'll also notice is it's fully integrated with my Outlook calendar and my Exchange calendar. So if I happen to be in a meeting, it automatically will put me in a meeting mode. If I happen to be on vacation, it will automatically put my out-of-office options. So very simple, very easy, but again, just some real tight integration in the system. Now, when we work on this solution, we've had SharePoint has been around, believe it or not, for 13 years. It came out in 2001, so it has been out a long time. But one of the challenges we have with these type solutions, intranet solutions, let's just say SharePoint, is it's kind of the end result. So I have a set of documents here that I put in the system when we're done. Okay, the final document's there, that's great. But really what happens, how do we get to the end result? We have a series of emails and probably a series of meetings before we actually get to that end result, be it a proposal, be it a contract, or whatever we're working on, right? Yes, we have the end result there, but all the richness on how we got there a lot of times is kind of lost kind of in the ether, right, out there in the world. So Microsoft's put a couple of very nice solution features in here. One of them is a mailbox. So now what I can do is I can actually email enable my SharePoint site. So when I'm working on a project for Northwind Traders, you'll see here any emails that we have specifically for Northwind Traders, I can actually send an email to SharePoint, and it will keep that email inside the SharePoint site. Now you can have this correlate with your the way you have your policies on email. It gets deleted after a certain amount, or you could have this stay a little bit longer around. The nice thing about putting the emails in a central spot is I can search and discover them. Versus if I have emails on my desktop and Mike has it on his desktop and I have it in my email, no one's really going to be able to kind of share information, right? It's my email, and if I leave, maybe that information goes with me, right? So a very nice new addition piece. The other addition they've added for collaboration and working with groups and teams is kind of a centralized notebook. So again, the scenario is we go to a set of meetings. I take notes, you take notes. Some folks take them electronically. Some folks use this tool Microsoft has called OneNote. I love OneNote. It's been out since 2003, and I have all my notebooks from then. It supports ink, so you can actually write on it with a tablet. Just a great, great product. But we all take notes, and we say, okay, as soon as we're done here, everyone go back, take your notes, and plug them up in SharePoint. Upload them to SharePoint. Well, you've probably been in that meeting an hour or two. By the time you get to your desk, I'm sure you've been interrupted 3 or 4 times. And when you get to your desk, the highest priority is probably not putting your notes you just took from the last meeting into SharePoint. Well, here I can have a centralized area that we can all be working on notes at the same time, and putting them in dynamically is right at the meeting, so I don't have to worry about posting them up at a different time. Now, the next step we want to do is actually start working on what we call the documents themselves, right? So going through and seeing if we have documents or information that we may need. Come on, machine. That we actually may need. Oops. Clicked too fast for that particular set of documents. So I'm going to go under here under Documents. So one of the things SharePoint supports is the ability of kind of putting documents in the system, including folders. So here's a document pieces for folders. Now, one of the challenges that we've had kind of over the years with SharePoint, it was a bit cumbersome to actually add content or get information into the system. So I was very happy when these three magic words appeared: drag files here. So now we have the ability of doing drag and drop, just like we've done for years with Explorer and lots of other products, but we never had the luxury of doing it in SharePoint. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a document, and I'm just going to drag and drop it into SharePoint. Very simple, very easy, adding the document up to the system. It's, now I did one document. Obviously, you could pick an entire folder structure, have security do that, 20 documents, 100 documents. There's really kind of no limit that you have. One of the things Microsoft did add, though, is you'll see it was modified. And they've kind of added this natural language functions when we've added the files, because that's really kind of how we talk, right? I put that up there 10 minutes ago. I put it up there last week. I put it up there yesterday. Maybe you remember the date and time, but most folks don't really remember the date and time. To actually go ahead and through that. Okay. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and see, this is the Northwind Traders agreement from a few years ago, so this might have the information that I might need. So here I have kind of my contract renewal. I have some information. So as I kind of hover over the document itself, what you'll notice again, we get that nice preview mode. So again, I can say, well, is this the actual contract renewal piece I want to go into? Yeah, it might be the one I want to look at. Now, right from here, I could go ahead and edit this. I could share it. So again, one of the challenges we may have, if I wanted to go ahead and share that document with other folks in the organization, it's fairly simple. I could just go up here and put someone's name in there. I can put Alan. Can he edit the document or view it? This is by no means the limitation on what you can do with documents. It's just kind of the most common one we can do. So I can very easily just go ahead and say share, and I could have picked multiple people there to do that. I can use distribution lists, lots of different ways to share the information, and I can go ahead and share it. Now, on this side, we also have our traditional check-in, check-out, view in a browser, but we do have some new options. One of the new options is edit in a browser. So I'm just going to go ahead and say edit in a browser. So what this is going to bring up is what we call the web apps. And the web app, what it allows me to do is actually create content, edit content, change content right inside of a browser. So you do no longer need PowerPoint on your machine or Excel on your machine or Word on your machine. You can actually do it through the browser itself. So here we have this particular document. I could go in, you'll notice I could edit information. I could make changes to this. Okay, well, Casey's no longer here, so I'm going to go ahead and say Karen Berg. So I can very easily go ahead and do that. Now, if I happen to have PowerPoint on my system, I can go ahead and open it in PowerPoint. But just think of the possibilities here. And what I'm going to do is also show you how we can have multiple folks edit this at the same time. So I am now in this system here as Alan, and you'll notice it's telling me that Karen is also editing this particular document, and Karen is editing slide number 1. So I can maybe go to slide number 2 or slide number 3, and I can just say, we'll just change that to, let's say, Matt and Northwind. So we can go ahead and change that. And this is kind of real-time integration. So when I go back up here, it'll tell me that Alan is changing it, but immediately you saw that now Matt has been changed. So I can now have simultaneous editing in documents. And I can mix and match. I could have several folks working on a browser, and I could have lots of folks maybe just working in PowerPoint. And really what the PowerPoint or the web app allows me to do is about 2% of what you could do with the full product. Now most folks only use about 3 to 5% of what Microsoft gives them in any product, so it works very well. Now this is not the application that you're going to use if you're creating a 75-page RFP, right? You're probably going to use Word or Excel and those kind of heavy-duty rich products. But just think about changing the game here. I have an iPad. Well, I have my PC desktop at the office. I go home, put the kids to bed, I fire up my iPad, I get an email saying, hey, the number changed. Something changed on this PowerPoint. Well, with an iPad, I could log into Office 365, go into my Northwind area, go ahead and say edit in the browser, and it will immediately just start letting me edit it right inside Safari. So very simply, very easily, working on those, and regardless of the browser function and feature. Okay? So very simple, very easy, really powerful on how we can kind of edit and make changes to documents. And I'll just go ahead and do the other thing too is this is kind of dynamically saved, so we call what we call autosave. Okay, and autosave just takes the last person that was working on the document kind of wins. Now one caveat on working simultaneously on the document is currently there isn't any version controls, meaning that if someone goes in and makes some big changes to the document and they're the last person to get out of the document, those changes are kind of committed. But I still have the ability of doing our traditional check out, where I check the document out, I make my changes, I check it in, someone else makes the changes, we can roll back changes, etc. So again, fairly simple, fairly easy as we kind of go through and work through those options. Now, one of the other things we can also do is Microsoft has given us the ability of what we call creating content types. So every time I do a process, so this is kind of a contract renewal. So every time I do a contract renewal, think about it in HR for onboarding. Every time we bring a new employee on, or every time we do this, or every time we do that, we have a whole set of processes and procedures, and most of them are some type of documents that we need to create. And on those particular documents, I might want a certain piece of information, maybe the department they're in or the project number, certain types of data I'd like. So basically putting metadata on the system itself. So what Microsoft's given us the ability to do is kind of wrap that up into what we call a document set. So when I go up here, when I want to create a new document, I can actually go ahead and create a template called contract renewal, an inventory report, or a sales contract. So this really takes the concept of your boilerplate or your templates and centralizes them. Because one of the things about trying to find these templates is that the right template? Is that the right update? So especially in my business where everything's kind of based on a statement of work, we have kind of a standard statement of work for Office 365 that we start with and then we add and move as we need for our clients' needs. Well, we don't start with a blank canvas each time. But trying to find out which one has the newest terms and conditions, the newest rates, all that stuff, kind of is challenging. Using this method, I have a centralized area. One person can update the set of documents or the document that they work on. And now, if I need to go ahead and create a new contract renewal for what we need to do for Northwind, I can just say right here, create a new document set. It's going to come up and it's going to ask me a couple of questions about the document set. Maybe the title about the document set, maybe what department. So here we'll just call this Demo Northwind. You can give it a description. Some of the other things we can also do is we can leverage the entire metadata structure that we do have with SharePoint here. So in here I could go in, I can search for Northwind, so I can go right down here if I wanted to go ahead and search for that. Same thing in here. It's Eurasia, so I can actually just pick. I go ahead and do it right. Or I can go ahead and just pick the tree. So here, we'll just Australia, we'll just say Asia. We'll pick that there. And then the product category, again, we make lots of different products. I don't know, it could be Bluetooth headsets, right? And again, this tree structure you can kind of build out. You'll also notice it dynamically puts a year renewal date from the day it was created. So I'm just going to say save. So what that's going to do is that's going to basically rubber stamp all the documents I need for a contract renewal. So any Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoints, if there was Adobe files in there, whatever I might need to create it. So right here, you'll see that I now have everything I put in here, demo Northwind, all the geography, so all this metadata I typed on the system, and I can very easily and quickly go ahead and start the system. So kind of a very big, quick overview on some of the power that we can do for kind of sharing and managing content with SharePoint 2013 in the Office system. I wanted to show you a couple of other things that we do have inherently in the system. And again, depending on the configuration, everything we're showing you here today, you may use a lot, you may use a little, you may not use it all, but we're just trying to give you some broad strokes here. So one of the other options we do have as Karen is we kind of have a personalized area for yourself. So each user can have their own kind of personalized area. And this will give you kind of your profile, all your information's on here, and again, you'll see the link integration. Now, if I go on to news feeds, what this will allow me to do is have all the news feeds from all the other sites kind of roll up for me. Okay, I can have your typical who's following me, any documents I'm having on here. So if I want to go ahead, who I'm following, I could go very quickly see other folks, and depending on who I'm following, I can go ahead and say, well, I want to go ahead and follow Sanjay now because other folks similarly to me are following Sanjay. So again, very kind of that whole concept of going through in the whole networking piece. We can also have blogs, etc., etc. But one of the nice things about 2013 is roll-up of tasks. So let's say you're working on 3 or 4 different projects, and each one of those projects may have a site, and you might get assigned tasks to those particular sites. Well, years past, it was kind of challenging to go in and actually figure out which ones were tasks. Now, the tasks can also synchronize with Outlook, so they can show up as Outlook tasks. But here's a centralized area where I can go in and actually go ahead and pick tasks. So these are tasks, personal particular tasks, and these are tasks from 2 particular sites, City Power and Light and Fabricam. So I can go in there. I can also go in to here and say important and upcoming. I can actually get this type of view where I can get more of a timeline type of view. So some pretty powerful options and features they've added. Now lastly is OneDrive. And this used to be SkyDrive Pro. Now it's called OneDrive Pro. Microsoft changed the name because there was a copyright infringement. And what OneDrive allows me to do is take information from SharePoint offline if I need to. So currently everything I've been doing today, I've been doing kind of online. Well, what if I have an offline mode? So there's actually 2 different ways to handle this. One is through OneDrive, and the other one is right through Outlook, and we'll show you that one in a minute. So here are documents. It's just like anything else. I can go ahead and take a document that I may want to have, so I can just drop that document into here. And again, if I needed to share that with somebody, I can very easily share that with that particular OneDrive piece. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and manually go ahead and sync this. Normally syncing happens in the background. I kind of just put it to every hour just for our demonstration purposes. And what this allows me to do is take that information offline. So now you'll notice in my File Explorer there's a new area called OneDrive, and it now has the documents that I have. So I can then take these documents. These are now on my local hard drive. I can make changes to them, edit them, whatever it might be. I can also add content offline here and have it synchronized back up with the system. But if I wanted to take this particular document that I just added and just get rid of it, I could get rid of it. And then when I synchronize up with the system again, that document is gone here. And if I refresh my screen, the document is now gone from there. So very simple, very easy to take information offline. Now, depending on security rights, etc., you may or may not be allowed to do this. We'll kind of check with your other folks on there. Now, one of the other things too is you saw that when I added Alan as someone who could actually see information in Northwind or actually share that document, here's what the information, because I did a CC to myself, would look like. So this particular person would get this. All they'd have to do is click on the link and get right to the particular document. The last thing I wanted to show you was some other ways to interact with SharePoint. So you'll notice right down here I have a folder structure right inside of Outlook called Northwind Traders. And if I look at my inbox, those are emails for Northwind Traders. So this is actually going into SharePoint itself, but I'm doing it right from Outlook. Some folks prefer to go in this method. You can. You'll notice I have my documents. So here's all my documents from that. So here's the document I added, before to that particular document library. But now, one of the biggest challenges or questions we get is I have an attachment in email and I want to drag and drop it to SharePoint. Well, all I have to do here is grab this PowerPoint presentation and drag and drop it right inside my document library. Now that document is now inside of SharePoint. That simple, that easy. It's just as easy as drag and drop. Now, everything I'm doing today, you need to have certain security and permissions to do, which, again, depending on what you're doing in the organization, you may or may not have. Obviously, I am an administrator in the system. I can kind of do what I want. Now, we're about 20 of, and I wanted to leave lots of time for questions. And I know Mike had said we were going to put these in here, so I'm just seeing if there are any questions.
If anybody has any questions, please type that out in the chat window on the bottom right. We'll be glad to answer those.
Or if you don't like to type, you can shout them out too.
Yep.
Wow, no questions at all. I'm not that good. Come on now.
Well, if anybody wants to pose any kind of question offline, feel free to either call or email. My number is 407-367-1794, and my email address is mvanzwieten@flcities.com. That's mvanzwieten@flcities.com, and I will be glad to pass those over to Matt for any further explanations. So if nobody has anything else, we will conclude this meeting.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's attention today, and go on and have a great week.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, folks.